Welcome back to FastFreddyRC, and today we're going to start the build process of the Toyota Supra on the new BT-01 chassis. Now, I have to tell you right off the bat, I'm actually not impressed with the build process of this, and I'm going to explain. The way they have set up their manuals, there's two additional ones. There's one if you're going from a mid-motor to front-wheel drive, and then this one here is a separate manual that is designed so that you can set this up as a front-engine rear drive. However, the main instruction manual is set up as a mid-motor rear drive, which is fine, but these separate manuals, they are not designed so that you can build the cars from scratch to build it to what you want. They literally are telling you, as you open this, I'll show you, to take the car apart from your standard mid-engine rear drive and start tearing pieces apart first. You can see here, remove bumper and RC deck, disassemble RC deck. And then further over to the engine, you're tearing things apart and adding other pieces so that the front motor can obviously be at the front, and then the drive shaft can now come out of this end rather than out of the front end, which it does in the mid-motor configuration. So my point is, if you are not going to build the car in anything other than the mid-motor rear wheel drive setup, you are constantly going to have to go back and forth between the manuals to figure out how to set this up if you're doing it from scratch. Because if you look here, and I'm not going to take you through it totally at the moment, they're showing you how to build this in step 3, the spur gear. And you see the little shaft that's here. Well, because we want the front engine rear drive, that's not the shaft that we're going to be using. So if you come over to their manual on the motor, it's a much larger shaft. So you're going to have to keep going back to the different steps and float back and forth to be able to build this car in the configuration you want. So I will say right off the bat, I'm not impressed with this idea. It seems very limiting, and I think this could be very confusing for people. So we're going to do our best to build this as a front motor rear drive car right from the beginning. But in order for me to go through this manual with you, I'm just going to go through it as a mid-motor rear drive, which is what the main manual shows, because a lot of the stuff that we're going to do is still going to be from this manual. But I am going to have to flip back and forth to this one in order to build it the way I want. I find that weird, and I'm not impressed. I have to say, I think this is a disappointment. But if we go into the manual as I normally do, there's step 1, where we're going to charge the battery. I won't be doing that, as I've said in every other build. We don't know when we're going to be finished this car, and I don't see the point in charging the battery up for the RC equipment check when I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get there. So we'll skip that. Now, the motor mount, you can see that we're going to be placing that along with the this piece here, which the motor will eventually attach to. And obviously this is partly for the drive shaft when it fits inside there. Then in step 3, the spur gear, well, you can see that we're going to be building this up, but again, I'm going to have to refer to step 7 in order to set this up, because we need to put in this longer shaft for it to work as a front motor rear drive. But there's a lot of similarities, but we're not going to really see how this goes until we get to the build. Then in step 4, attaching the pinion gear, well, that's more or less going to be identical no matter which version that we're building here, or that you are building. Then in step 5, attaching the gear cover. We've got that. That'll be somewhat similar, but I know that there's something that's going to come off of that, so we'll see. Step 6, attaching the motor. Again, you can see here that's coming off for the drive shaft, but there's going to be something else down here. You can see where the drive shaft's going to go through that hole and out for the version that we're going to build. So we'll see. Step 7, we're going to be attaching the RC deck. Step 8, we're going to be attaching the servo mounts. I mean, this is a really cool looking car. It's just going to be interesting building it. Then in 9, we're going to be working on the gear differential. Very, very cool. And in step 10, again, we're working with a differential unit. Very interesting design. This is very different compared to other Tamiya kits that I've seen. Again, we've got differential unit 2 that we're going to be putting that together. Then in 12, attaching the rear and upper arms. And, well, you can see there's more of that. And, of course, there's the upper part. And if we move on, then in step 13, we're going to attach the gear differential unit. Step 14, attaching the rear lower arms. Very, very cool. And then in 15, the rear uprights. 16, attaching the rear uprights. So this is where we're going to attach it all. But again, you're going to see differences as I build this because we need this as a front engine rear drive. But it's very, very cool. I like the design. Subdeck. So that's in step 18. 19, we're going to be attaching the front upper arms. Very cool. And then in 20, the front lower arms. 21, attaching the front lower arms. Very cool. 22, the front uprights. 23, attaching the front uprights. And then in 24, we're going to be working on the dampers, and these are friction dampers, and from what I've heard, this really needs oil dampers. Now, because this is the first kit to ever come out on this chassis, I intend on building this pretty much stock. The only upgrade, which I think I mentioned at the beginning, is a full set of ball bearings. I never build a kit without it, so we will do that. Then in 26, we're going to be attaching the urethane bumper. 27, attaching the subdeck. Interesting design. And then 28, attaching the subdeck 2. And then in 29, this is where we're going to be doing the RC equipment check. So this is where we will need the fully charged battery. But again, I'm not going to do anything with that until we get a little closer. Then in 30, we're going to attach the battery holders. Interesting. 31, we're going to attach the RC equipment, get everything onto that deck. And then in 32, we're going to start working on the wheels. And I don't know if I'm using the stock wheels for this or not. I'm trying to find wheels that represent Paul Walker's Supra, as that's what we're going to be building this as. Attaching the wheels in 33. And in 34, we're going to be stowing the cables, so we're just going to do a bit of cleanup there. Then in 35, we're going to be working on the front body mount unit. Looks like a really different kind of unit, if you ask me. And of course, 36, the rear body mount unit. So even a lot of the parts that, help with the suspension, they're all part of the mounting system here, which is different. Steering rod, yeah. And then in 37, we're going to be attaching the body mount units. Very, very cool. And of course, the servo arm, etc. 38, we're going to be installing the battery pack. Very cool. Interesting design. And then in 39, if attaching a transponder. Now, I don't know. I may attach this unit anyway. I may not. I'm not sure. And by the looks of it, we now are then going to go into the body. So making the holes. So we're going to have to put all the holes into the body, clean it up. And then in 41, we're going to be cutting out the body. So we're going to have to do that. And then in 42, this is where we're painting the body. and I'm going to be giving this body to a buddy of mine that just does an awesome job. And so I'm going to get him to paint this the way that I need it to look. And of course, there are all of the decals for step 43, which I will not be using. Again, my buddy's going to paint this up exactly how it looks, so I don't need a lot of the stickering that goes on. I've never been a fan of the stickers that go around the windows, so he does a nice job of actually painting that black as well as a tint. So I'm really excited to see what this looks like. And then, of course, we're going to add the Paul Walker Supra decals for the Fast and the Furious on this. And then once I get the body back, well, 44, we're going to be attaching the side mirrors. And then in 45, we're going to be attaching the headlights. And of course, we've got to get the wing and everything all attached as well and painted. And then in 46, we're going to be attaching the body. And that ends up being the last step of the car. Now again, just remember, I will end up having to flip and back and forth between the two, because this is what we're all going to need to do if we want this to be a front engine rear drive setup. And I'm just whipping through this because I honestly am not sure how this is all going to go yet. But it's very, very cool. I mean, obviously most of the car gets built, I think, under the main manual, but there's quite a few little changes here in order to set this up properly, to set it up as a front engine rear drive car. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So this is super cool. There's the bearings. I will be getting started on this one soon. So if you are interested in this car, if you have bought this and want to follow along, please do like, subscribe, and make sure you click the notification bell, because I will be doing this step by step. So that no matter what step you're working on, you'll always be able to find, the video that applies to it. So I will be getting started on this fairly soon. So thanks for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you in another video.